Tonight we'll be travelling into the city built of salt, where pale walls glow under the moon, the air tastes of the sea, and a fragile wonder waits to be understood. In Basra, the harbour settles into evening. Lanterns sway, nets dry, and waves tap the hull in a steady, sleepy rhythm. This voyage begins with a rumour spoken softly in the spice market. A salt merchant, his fingers always dusted white, leaned over a tray of dates and said, "Beyond the pearl banks there is a city made entirely of salt. It rises when the sea is kind and disappears when the sun grows warm." The merchant's eyes were serious. "If you find it," he added, "remember that some wonders cannot be carried away. If you enjoy these gentle adventure stories, remember to like and subscribe." Sinbad did not sail to claim the city. He sailed to see if the sea still kept such delicate miracles, and what they might teach a traveller who had learned to hurry. With a small crew who respected silence, he slipped out of Basra at dusk. Soon the town became a cluster of distant lights behind them, and the open sea spread wide and calm ahead. Night deepened without drama. The moon laid a pale road across the water, and the ship followed it as though guided by light poured from a careful hand. Sinbad thought of salt, born from waiting, able to preserve and to sting, strong enough to protect yet easy to ruin. The thought slowed him, as if the sea itself had asked him to move gently. Near midnight, a thin mist rose, silver as a veil. The air sharpened with salt and, strangely, with a faint sweetness, like distant flowers carried over water. Then a glimmer appeared ahead. First a line, then shapes. Towers, arches, domes emerged from the fog, pale and luminous, as if carved from moonlight and packed with tiny crystals. The city rose from the sea without splash or roar, simply revealing itself as the mist slid aside. The sailors fell silent. Sinbad felt wonder lift his chest. The harbour of the city was built of salt blocks stacked clean and bright, and a dock stretched toward the ship. As they drew close, Sinbad noticed the strangest thing. The city made almost no sound at all. No bells, no footsteps, no voices, only the soft lap of water against salt. At the end of the dock stood a figure wrapped in a cloak, the colour of pale sand. Its face was calm, its eyes reflecting the moon like still ponds. When Sinbad stepped onto the dock, his boots left no marks. The salt beneath was smooth and cool, like polished stone. The figure bowed slightly. "Welcome," it said in a low, steady voice. "You've arrived while Salsara is awake." "Who lives here?" Sinbad asked. "Those who have learned to be careful," the figure answered. "We are made of what the sea gives and what the sun returns. We last only as long as we are treated gently." The guide led Sinbad into Salsara. The air grew crisp and clean, and the scent of salt brightened. Lamps hung from arches, but were not lit with flame. They glowed from within, as though each crystal held a small piece of moon. The streets were empty, yet not lonely, peaceful like a place where even thoughts walk softly. They passed carvings of waves and fish etched so finely that a careless touch could crumble them. In a courtyard a fountain flowed with brine, and sparkling as it fell into a shallow pool where new crystals formed along the rim like lace. Sinbad watched and understood. This city was always being remade, not with noise, but with patience. At last they entered a hall of translucent salt. Moonlight passed through the walls and turned them into glowing panels. In the centre stood a table, and on it a small bowl of seawater so clear it seemed to hold a piece of sky. The guide rested a hand beside it. "This is our heart," it said, "the bowl of balance." Sinbad leaned close. Ripples moved, though nothing touched the water, and within the ripples appeared quiet scenes. A fisherman mending his net with care, a cook measuring salt to preserve food for winter, a healer washing a wound gently. The guide spoke softly. Salt is strong. Used with care it protects. Used without care it harms. We were built to remember the gentle use of what is strong. The lesson warmed Sinbad, but then he noticed a faint damp line along the lower wall, a melt beginning where the air was warmer. The guide followed his gaze and nodded. "We are fragile," it said. "Some ships come with hungry hands. They chip at our walls and fill sacks. Afterward, when the sun rises, we dissolve faster than we can rebuild." Sinbad's chest tightened. "How do you protect it?" "We cannot fight," the guide said. "Salt does not win battles, it teaches, but lessons require listeners." As if the sea wished to test that truth, a second ship appeared beyond the mist, sails tight, approach quick. The quiet of Salsara felt suddenly thinner. Sinbad remembered the merchant's warning and understood it fully. The city would survive only if someone chose reverence over taking. "Let me try," Sinbad said. He returned to the dock and told his crew to keep their lanterns low and their voices softer than the waves. The other ship bumped the salt harbour. Men climbed down with eager movements, their voices loud against the silence. "Pure salt," one cried. "We'll be rich." Sinbad stepped between them and the nearest wall, steady as midnight water. "Friends," he said, "this city is not a quarry. If you break it, you will gain crystals, but you will lose the wonder that brought you here." One man raised a small hammer. Sinbad did not grab it. He pointed to the wall instead. "Touch it with your fingertips," he said. "Just once." The man hesitated, then pressed his hand to the salt. It felt cool and slightly damp, alive with tiny grains. A faint shimmer ran under his skin, and the glow reflected in his eyes. Around them, the crystal lamp seemed to brighten as if noticing gentleness. "Now listen," Sinbad whispered. In the hush they heard it, a delicate sound like distant rain, like crystals forming, like the sea breathing through stone. It was not a threat. It was a patient song. Sinbad spoke slowly. "Salt saves sailors from hunger. It keeps food safe. It heals when measured, but it dissolves when abused. This city exists to remind us that strength without care becomes loss." The hammer lowered. The men looked around at arches and domes and seemed suddenly embarrassed, as if waking from a greedy dream. Another whispered, "It's alive." The guide stepped forward, calm as moonlight. "Take nothing," it said, "and you may leave with something better, the memory of what you did not break." One by one the men backed away. They returned to their ship without sacks of salt, and their vessel slipped into the mist quieter than it had arrived. Relief spread through Sinbad like warm tea. The guide nodded. "You listened," it said, "and you helped others listen too." Dawn began as a pale line at the edge of sea and sky. The air warmed, almost imperceptibly. Sinbad walked the quiet streets one last time, letting the city's glow settle into his memory. The salt walls turned pink for a heartbeat, like cheeks touched by gentle light. Then the edges softened, towers blurred, domes seemed to exhale. Salsara began to sink, not as a tragedy, but as a return, like a dream dissolving when you open your eyes. Sinbad watched without reaching out. Beside him, the guide's voice was soft. "We will rise again when the sea is kind," it said, "and when hearts are kind too." Sinbad stepped back onto his ship as the last salt arch slipped beneath the surface. The sea looked ordinary again, yet it felt richer, as if it carried a secret smile. The crew raised sail in silence, honouring what they had seen, and Sinbad carried Salsara's lesson in his chest. Protect what is delicate, and you keep its light alive. When Basra's harbour appeared in morning sun, Sinbad felt calm wisdom settle over him like a blanket. He smiled, grateful for a treasure that weighed nothing at all. And now, as your own breathing grows slow and even, you can imagine a city of salt sleeping beneath the waves, waiting to rise again when the world is ready to touch it with care and to let it shine without trying to own its light.